So darshan is receiving the glance of the Lord and feeling just grateful, feeling blessed because of it. Life can be difficult, so it's really nice to come to a place like a temple and feel that connection. All right, after Arti we'll have a short talk, and we'll also be serving lunch outside downstairs after the talk. So please stay around as much as you can. And after the conch shells blow, we'll be playing the Govindam prayers. Is anybody here in the temple for the first time? Yeah, okay, great, especially in the new space. So we play the Govindam prayers. These are played generally in the morning at every ISKCON temple. And it's a prayer, it's sung by a beautiful devotee called Jamuna Devi, but recorded by George Harrison, who was one of the Beatles, if you remember him. He was a great devotee of Krishna. So these are very special prayers of Lord Brahma called Govindam. So you're invited to listen to that as well. All right, Hare Krishna.
Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Desaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Desaya Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pecharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vaskyatarasha Dharine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo bolo. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Mayapur Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai, Yamuna Mai ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Shimhaya. Shimhamadi Saranam Prapade Tavakara Kamala Bade Naka Aputa Shinga Nalika Hiranya Kashipu Anugrina Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare. Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare.
Thank you. Kimberly for the beautiful kirtan. Haribol. Dr. Vinod Prabhu on Mridanga. Kimberly used to live here. Many of us remember Kimberly. She's now far away in Texas. But we're so happy you're here, and maybe you can do some kirtan in the afternoon here. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Welcome. My name is Ananda. I'm the temple president here. So you can blame me for everything. And appreciate Chaitanya, who serves with me together. So he gets all the good stuff, and I can take all the rest. But just have a few announcements, and then we're going to set up the speakers. Now we have three. So I like everybody to just take a moment and express some gratitude. So please turn to the person next to you and thank them for being here. And the person behind you and the person in front of you, just take a moment to say thanks. We know you all have to drive, and it takes a bit. So it's important that we create Sangha. Today is also Father's Day. Haribol. Raise your hand if you have a father, or at one point had a father, and in the future will have a father. Yes, yes, yes. Just a beautiful quote. We've hung up a few on the door, but here's a sweet quote that we can offer to Krishna today. So, Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Gita, our only request is that, quote, take Krishna as the original father, end quote. The original father, as I have got my father has got his father, his father, his father. Who is the original father? The original father is Krishna. Yes, well done. And you'll find that in the Bhagavad Gita. And if you haven't come close for darshan yet, we just encourage you to do that because Krishna is really looking beautiful today. I said that to one wonderful devotee as she was coming in, a long-time practitioner, and I said to her, please go take darshan. Krishna is looking beautiful today. And she looked at me and she said, is Krishna ever not looking beautiful? So I was immediately reminded of the treasure we have of each other and how we help each other stay connected to Krishna. Okay, we do have a bake sale today, and it's in honor of Father's Day. We have some pizzas on sale today, so you can all go down there after the talk. We also have special coloring for Father's Day that's set out on a table in the lobby for those of you who have young kids. And even if you're older, you can color something for your dad today and write a note on it to tell him that you love him and appreciate him. The cooks today, prasadam we sometimes kind of take it for granted that prasadam just arrives and then you all honor it and then we all clean up afterwards. But today, this beautiful lunch feast was cooked by a group of devotees led by Parameshwari, Devi Dasi. I don't have the rest of the team members, but please, if you run into any of them, they are also a small group that live, I think, in Herndon. And they come regularly to offer their service to the temple. So if you ever want to do any service, if you want to get connected to a small group, if you want to figure out how to get more involved or how to support the temple in any way, you can see me or Chaitanya or Prem or Amy. At least 4 of you that you can that we are here to facilitate your service to Krishna, and it's our great pleasure to do so. All right, and one final, well, actually, I'll share this after you speak.
Hare Krishna. Okay, let's thank today's sponsors. So first one, we have Sanjay and Gayatri Patel for Father's Day. So let's thank Sanjay and Gayatri. Can you come up if you are here? No? Okay. So the next we have, in the memory, we have Savita Malhotra for memory of Breeze. So I'd like to request everyone to please chant the Mahamantra for 3 times. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Savita ji, can you come up? We have some prasad for you. Okay. आइए आगे. Where is Sanjay? After? Okay. So next we have Ram Kumar Kashyap, who is sponsoring in memory of Bajnath Kashyap. So I'd like to request everyone to chant the Mahamantra for 3 times. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Kashyap ji, if you are here, please come up. No. Oh, there you are. Yeah, today everybody is getting 2, looks like. If you sponsor prasadam, you need to sit on this side. So. For many years I've been posting this out there, but last 1 month, 2 months, I gave a break to everybody. So now we finally have our loan closed. So our loan for pay off this beautiful building is $6.3 million. Okay. So the next bill is $45,000. Okay. Which is due on July 7th. Okay. So I know we have many donors. We have over 1,200 plus donors who have contributed for this project. So we still have about 4.2 million pledges remaining to receive from. So those who pledge, if you like to make a payment, feel free. And those who did not get an opportunity to sponsor yet, it's not too late. So please contact us. So we'll be happy to add you. And those families who have sponsored more than $1,008 will have your name at the lobby. Your name, your parents' name, your father's name, whichever name you want. So it's not too late to join. We have another month or so. So if you want to join, please give your name. Okay, you can see us. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, good. Now, so we're going to get ready for today's talk. We're going to move the chairs a little closer. It's about the toughest questions. The talk's called The Toughest Questions You've Ever Asked or Thought to Ask. And we sent it out on our e-news and we got lots of questions back in. So if you want to stay for the talk, we encourage you to move a little further. We encourage you to put your phones on silent. We encourage the little ones, if you have little ones, to get some coloring in the hall. So the little ones, if they get a little noisy, we ask you to take them to the lobby, and then you can also bring them back in again if everybody's settled down. So yeah, this is a time of transition to find your place and get ready for hearing something wonderful. Do you want to start with Jai Radha? No? Okay.
Hare Krishna, we're ready to go?
Wait, one more minute. Do you want to move a little closer?
We already did.
Okay. All right, you are so eager to go. We found that when you sing a bit, it helps people settle in.
Okay. Well, he didn't put this words. You could ask Che to put the words up then.
Is Che here for Jai Radha Madhava? Okay, good.
Kunja Bihari
Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jai Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari
Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana
Shamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha
Gopi Janavalava Girivaradhari
Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari
Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana
Yashodanandana Brajajanarajana
Jamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Hare Krishna.
I would just love to briefly introduce the speakers.
Okay.
So you have Brajabihari Das, who is my husband. We've been married for a few years. But he is a senior educator in ISKCON, travels all over the world, so we're happy to have him here to share his wisdom today. And we have Giri Govardhan Prabhu, who also is a senior scholar and student of the Bhagavatam, teaches at the Bhakti Lounge and also online. So both of these devotees are really experienced in the practice and are it's a great honor to have them today. So please give them a warm welcome.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So Giri Govardhan Prabhu is our resident scholar here. So when we put out this request for questions, and I looked at them and I said, "Oh my God!" So I called Giri Govardhan Prabhu. I said, "You've got to share the mic with me today, because some of these are much more up your alley than mine." But I thought the first question, you guys sent some great questions, and we're not going to be able to cover all of them. Some of them are really esoteric, and so if you want some of those answered, come see Giri Govardhan Prabhu or myself after class if you were asked some questions that were like, whoa. But I thought the first one, we could ease into this. And where's my wife just go? Ananda, first question's yours. Because I thought, we would start, kind of like easy and then go to the harder questions after that. So here's one. How to help children go to sleep reasonably early and wake up reasonably early?
I don't know how many are interested in this question. Oh, okay. Shoot! Hands held up. And to be honest, I don't really have an answer, except there's a principle in Waldorf education called rhythm replaces strength. So if you get your life in rhythm, which means doing things at a certain time in routine, then it's easier for you to control yourself and then your children. So everything starts with you when we're talking about children. And so getting into a bedtime routine, and if you really have to make major changes, then start with small changes, 10 minutes earlier, 10 minutes earlier, 10 minutes earlier. It's easier when they're younger. I'm not sure about teenagers. When I was in the Gurukula in Vrindavan as the principal there, which was an all-boys ashram school, I couldn't get the teenagers to bed early, and I couldn't get them up in the morning early. So, but for the little ones, it's much easier to get them into a rhythm. That would be my suggestion, if everything comes from desire, if you desire to do it, try to figure a way out to do it. But really, when there's rhythm and a routine before bedtime, that's easier for the children to just naturally follow that. And then that could help.
I would add to that, this is for adults also, is try to minimize screen time at least an hour or two before going to sleep. Even scientifically, the blue, whatever, the waves that come out really keep us awake. So if you can turn off screens. I know that's like really hard these days, But turn off screens is a great way to go to bed early.
They say at least an hour, right?
At least an hour.
Before you rest.
Okay, so the next question I'm going to give to Giri Govardhan Prabhu. This is obviously from someone who's been practicing bhakti for a while, and they say, how to go from mechanical practices of bhakti or of devotional service, spiritual life, to doing practices, sadhana is a Sanskrit word, with some attachment for Krishna. How do we develop attachment for Krishna?
So it's a very important question, actually, because there's many things that we do, actions that we perform in bhakti. So there's chanting, there's hearing, there's various types of physical services. And so many times it can be, like this person says, mechanical. It's what we do, what we say, even what we think. It's kind of programmed, and we're supposed to transform our actions in that way. But bhakti has a very strong, in fact, the real essence of it is a heart component. So if you look even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that you can offer him simple things, right? A fruit, a flower, right? A little bit of a water, these things. But he says you offer it with bhaktya, and Prabhupada translates that with love. So that there's a heart component to it. And even in the definition of bhakti, it says it's anukulyena krishnanushilanam. And the shilanam is an action. And it's directed towards Krishna. Krishnanushilanam is directed towards Krishna. But there's a anukulyena, an attitude towards him. So those things can't be disconnected. So bhakti can never just be, Krishna is so kind that he'll accept almost anything, right? So even if we, without feeling, we offer him something, he's touched. But if we want to grow, we have to be in touch with why we're doing it. What do we feel about Krishna and why? Right? What is the motivation for our acting? And so it says in the definition that the lowest bar you can have for that anukulyena is just you can have a favorable attitude towards Krishna. So it doesn't have to start very strong. But as bhakti grows, and the way that bhakti grows is by that anukulyena becoming deeper and richer and more vibrant, step by step by step. And so that takes a certain level of, I say, ongoing introspection. I think we can consider, there's a few things we can consider. I think it's shown in Lord Chaitanya's Shikshastakam. In the first verse, it describes all of the wonderful things that chanting of the holy name attains and causes to happen. And in the second one, it says that Krishna, you're so kind that you've given many names. And the great acharyas say that the reason why Krishna is, we have Chaitanya, Rama, Krishna, we have different names. And he says the reason why Krishna does that is because he doesn't want to seem like he's being too imposing. He says, we know all of you guys are individuals, you have individual tastes. I could say, this is my name, chant this one, but I want to give you a little choice. He's considerate. And then it says that these names contain all of your energies, Nija Sarva Shaktis. And it says anybody can chant it at any time, any place. You don't have to be you don't have to be a Brahmin, you don't have to have ritual purity, it doesn't have to be a certain auspicious astrological moment. Anybody can do it any time, so it's very liberal. And he says, but then the person laments, he says, but I don't have attachment for it. And so what's happening is there's an ungrateful heart, a hard heart. This is, one of our acharyas says, this is the obstacle, is our hard heart. And so we have to consider a little bit the kindness of Krishna. The fact that he loves us unconditionally, and the mercy is available to everybody. He's offering it to everybody. There's no qualification. It says it's causeless. There's no qualification. Just out of pure kindness, Krishna offers this to us. And so sometimes when we begin to do things mechanically, we're thinking we're becoming bigger and better, and we're earning this advancement and this mercy. And that's a very egoistic platform. when it's priceless, given from Krishna's heart. So anyway, if we continue to be introspective, what are we looking for in devotional service? What do we feel about Krishna? Why? Then we can cultivate that anukulyena. And that's what allows us to bring a real feeling to the service. It can't be artificial. Right? It has to be something. So we have to look at ourselves and see where we really stand. So that's my answer to that.
I'll add to that. Has anyone here ever gone to a conference, for your profession? That everyone comes together, whether it's IT professionals or doctor. Anyone ever gone to one of those? Okay, so yeah. And what do you do when you walk away from that? Generally, I think the experience is you get a little inspired in your profession. I was just at one in Indianapolis a few weeks ago for my profession. So another part of the answer to this question, I think, is about association. There's that saying, Hare Krishna. You see, I get association, and then I become inspired in bhakti. Hare Krishna. So, tell me who you associate with, I'll tell you who you are. Right? So, just like many of us probably were here when Radhanath Swami was here the last week, or God, was it last week, 2 weeks ago? And you couldn't hear a pin drop. Everyone was totally, because of that association. One time, by fate, he and I were stuck together in a city, just the two of us, for 4 days. No one else around. And just being with Radhanath Swami for 4 days was it was such a boost to my, because he's not mechanical. So even if I'm like, mechanical, he's not. And so by that association, I became inspired to practice more devotionally. So also, association is really important. So hang out with Giri, and you'll be very inspired. Okay, so next question. Gosh, there's, which one should we do? I had it shows, and now I have to find it. Okay, this is a really interesting question. What role do boundaries play in spiritual life? What roles do boundaries play in spiritual life? Interesting. Do you want to talk a little bit first about you, David? It's either you or Kim, because you're teachers. Children and boundaries. How does that help, when you set boundaries? Because you could say children just want to hang out and do anything they want anytime. But does that actually help them? And, how do setting boundaries with children or devotees living in the temple?
I heard a nice definition one that boundaries keep good things in and keep unwelcome things out. So, boundaries are important for many, many reasons. Just for our own sense of self, for our own boundaries can also be seen as commitments we make. We keep our word, promises we make, all of those things that help us show up and be better people.
Nice.
Like that. So it's a big word, but you can see
you
it
can
in many
unpack
ways.
it in so many ways. I was thinking even what you said about children. Also, I do a lot of consulting for people in charge of organizations, and people actually like boundaries. They just don't want them to be like this, right? Anyone ever heard of the term micromanaging? Right? I get that a lot in my profession. Someone comes to complain, so-and-so is micromanaging. So they don't like boundaries to be like this, but also people generally don't like boundaries to be like this, just whatever. They actually like, let's say, again, for work, an office that has some boundaries, but they're reasonable. And they can even be broken every now and then in emergency situations. So bhakti is like that. Actually, I once spoke to, I didn't personally, but a friend of mine spoke to a person who trains monks, right? And he said, well, what is your principle for training monks? We call them brahmacharis in our tradition, unmarried students. And this person said, well, if they're going to be lifelong monks, then up till about 30, very strict training. And then after 30, you start giving them more and more rope as they act in responsible ways. So boundaries also can change. In bhakti, there's two terms for practices. One is called vaidhi, and one is called rag. And vaidhi is really following the rules and regulations of devotional service, getting up early, chanting so many, like people who live in the temple, chanting so many rounds. When we take initiation, we vow to chant 16 rounds. We vow to follow 4 principles of cognition ultimately, but 4 restrictions. And the impetus to do that, as my wife said, is, I took a vow, I took a promise, and these help purify us. As we make advancement in bhakti, then the boundaries are still there, but they are actually become almost, what should I say, almost second nature. And they aren't like an impetus or a struggle, but rather we become more focused on our devotion to Krishna, on our love, and that's called the rag marg. It's called spontaneous bhakti. And our devotion becomes more like, instead of, okay, it's 4 a.m, the temple Mangal Arati is at 4:30. Oh my gosh, okay, I should do this. And, as we make more advancement in bhakti, then it's 4 o'clock. Hurry, bull! I get to see Krishna in a half hour. And we, run to the shower and, can't wait to go to the Mangal Arati. So boundaries are helpful, but they should be reasonable and they can be adjusted sometimes, just like bringing up children, right? There's times when you're very strict, and then especially as they start gradually becoming young adults, Chanakya Pandit says you become more like a friend with them, like that. Since it's Father's Day, we talk about that. So boundaries are really interesting, and even if you have 2 children, you might set different boundaries according to their nature. That can also happen, right? Would you like to say anything else about boundaries?
I was thinking about like interpersonal boundaries.
Oh, okay.
Because like in bhakti, we have this notion that we're supposed to be very humble, and also that we're everyone's servant. And that makes us, in some ways, very vulnerable, right? Because in the society of bhakti, there's also everybody has obligations towards others, and then also everybody has obligations towards you. Right? And so I heard something from His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami, who I thought he had a really interesting take on this. He said that if you have real care for somebody, and they're violating your boundaries, right? They're taking advantage of your humility and you're willing to be of service. He says that you can consider that behavior is harmful to them. Right. And so if you have concern for them and you want to be of service for them, you don't allow them to do that. So you're allowed to call them out on that, to not allow that to happen. And so it's really, because we also have this notion of hierarchy. There's senior people and that sort of thing, and that has been abused and sometimes weaponized. And so I think it's really important that when somebody's doing that, it's not helpful for them if you allow them to do that. And so that way you remain humble, you remain a servant, and you don't get.
I like that. I was thinking of, personal boundaries. My wife is much better at it than me. If my phone rings at 10 at night, I'll pick it up and, how can I serve you? And she's like, forget it. It's tomorrow morning. It's not. I'm sure it's not an emergency. But I mean, I've actually get inspired by that because my tendency is to not have many personal boundaries, and that means sometimes I don't get enough sleep, or I'm always taking on other people's problems and trying to solve them. And I think we need a balance. Some people are more accommodating, like myself. Some people are more like my way or the highway. And I think there's something in conflict resolution, my field, there's something called collaborating, where you try to find a win-win situation, where you find some, again, I think a good word in boundaries is balance. right? Trying to find that balance between, even when I do, when I bring two people together or in a conflict, I tell them you have to balance courage and consideration. Courage to make your points that you want to make in the conflict, but also consideration to really hear the other person. So boundaries also a balance. Should we go on to the next question?
Can we see if there's a question from the audience?
Can we see if, yes, we can. If that was a question.
Would anybody like to ask a question? I'm going to stop standing here shortly so I don't receive.
Well, we can go on to the next question, and in the meantime, y'all think of a question.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I say y'all because I'm from the south part of New York. Okay. All right. The next one. Oh my God, this is one for Giri Govardhan Prabhu. If God is one, why people are divided in different groups? Why is spiritual practice not a exacting methodology that is reproducible, such as in modern science? And then they add, why one cannot realize God without bhakti?
So it's kind of three questions.
So yeah, it's a number of questions there.
So let's start with the first one. If God is one, why are people divided into different groups? Well, our understanding is that the one God, and we can see it on our altar, has many alter egos. And the idea behind that is that, as Prabhupada quotes once in an early lecture when he was in 26 Second Avenue in New York City, when he first started his program, he said that, because he had a lot of people that were thinking about oneness. And he says, originally God is one, and then he became many. And there's a verse from the Upanishads, Eka Bahusham, one becomes many. And he says, why did he do that? He asked the rhetorical question, and he says, just like me, he says, so they used to have a couple of public programs every week. He says, so I'm here every day, he says, but when you come, all you people come, I'm so much happier. And so the idea of why God doesn't become just a homogeneous one, but becomes a being, and then many beings, is because of the opportunity for loving connections. There's something that's more powerful than complete satisfaction. Most people in spiritual life are looking for a level of peace, shanti. And even when you come to there's something even greater than full peace, which is love, which makes both sides come alive to a greater degree. And so Krishna becomes a being, and then many beings, because he wants to taste all the different varieties of connections. And so therefore, he has different forms and different sorts of devotees who are attracted to him in different ways and in different moods. So therefore, because God is not homogeneous, the devotees are not homogeneous. There's different groups.
Yeah, so God comes at different times in different places and different cultures according to the needs of the individual. Now, but it's so interesting because we are monotheistic. There is one God, but it's just like the examples given, if you have a candle and you can light other candles with that candle, and those other candles remain the same strength. So Krishna or God appears in different cultures in different ways, and also according to the natures of those people will teach in certain ways. We're so fortunate because the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita are so amazing, and it comes with this last question, part of this. Why one cannot realize God without bhakti? So bhakti just means devotion, means love. And one of our great teachers in our tradition, his name is Rupa Goswami, and he came up with a, what would you say, a model, a model that really makes things clear that there is three parts of one's relationship with God. One can, karma, and that's, you go to God and you say, oh Lord, I really want my son to get into Harvard. right? Or I'm in this, this disease is there, and could you please cure it? Or, could you reduce the mortgage rates a little bit because I want to buy this house, but 7% is way too much, right? So, that kind of business deal with God. And then there's Gyan, and Gyan is a philosophical understanding about God, and as you were saying, kind of an impersonal, you could explain it better than me. Bhakti is when one has devotion to God, ultimately saying, I'm your servant, I don't want anything from this relationship. You're a person, I'm your servant, please let me serve you. And that can be found in any tradition, in any theistic tradition, right? Whether Christianity, my wife is born in a Catholic faith, I was born in a Jewish faith, in Islam and Sufism, that separation, and often these three are kind of an entangled mess. And so Rupa Goswami, he very clearly unentangled them and said, this is karma. It's not the end of the world. At least you're accepting that God exists, right? It's considered sukritina in Bhagavad Gita, but it's not the highest. The highest is just approaching God. I'm your servant. I want to serve you. And so if that's our definition of bhakti, bhakti can manifest in so many different faiths.
Yeah, so God wants the connection, wants the relationship, and so that's up to us, whether we want that or not.
So you want to do that part?
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying. This is the same thing. Part you're doing. Why we can't see God without bhakti? Because bhakti is the desire to be connected. And so, if you don't desire to be connected, then God is there, but He's going to respect you, respect your decision, and He's not going to appear before you. All right. So it's a two-way relationship. And so bhakti means I want a connection with you. I want to see you. I want to be. And otherwise, you don't have that. Then God respects your wishes. He doesn't impose Himself upon you.
And what about that part about why spiritual practice does not have exact methodology that is reproducible like in modern science?
I guess in one sense you can say that it does. But it's because everybody is unique. The connection that you build with Krishna is going to be unique. We all have had many, 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 many births in this world, and we have personalities that are affected. We carry things from our past lives. It says that some of them are imprinted right in our identity, and so and also because bhakti has such an internal component, that it's hard to measure some things, right? So in a scientific experiment, if you do a chemical experiment, you have a certain amount of this material and that material at a certain temperature, and you do such and such. It's all very easily objectively measurable, and therefore under the same conditions, the same thing will happen. But the conditions are not always exactly the same with humans internally, and so the same basic parameters apply. If we decide to be connected with God, there are certain ways that are given in the bhakti path how that can be done. There are certain guidance that can be given when we run into this trouble or that trouble or some other trouble. But it's still going to be up to us, right, to deal with these things. It's going to be a very individual way. So if we had a broad enough science that could take into account all the varying conditions, you could say it's a science, and it's reproducible. People have been practicing bhakti and connecting with God since time immemorial, and they will continue to do so. But the science is very complicated, much more complicated than a simple chemical reaction.
Because we're the test tube.
Yeah.
Right. There is, Prabhupada would often say that it's a scientific process. If you chant Krishna's names, if you read the Bhagavad Gita, if you associate with devotees, the result will come. But the trick is, it's not just like something out there, 2 test tubes. You have to the practice is on yourself. So, questions?
Can I make a comment?
Oh, yes.
There's 9 processes of devotional service, and Prabhupada says that you can do all 9 of them and attain perfection, or you can do just one of them and attain perfection. So
There's
that goes right to what you're saying.
Yeah.
so there's different shlokas for different folks.
Yeah. There's a lot of variation
Basically,
within the system also. Yeah.
Prabhuji, Prabhu, Brinda Priya has a question. Oh, okay. One of those comments in this guise of a question. We're used to those. Go ahead.
I was listening to a podcast and the same topic was being discussed. So the question came up of like, if truth is universal and absolute, why are there so many paths and why do you have to commit to one? Why can't you just kind of do a little bit of all of them? And one of the guests on the podcast quoted the Buddha in saying that you don't strike water by digging 6 1-foot holes. You strike water by digging 1 6-foot hole. So I was very encouraging that if you do commit to a path and you very sincerely practice, you'll reach the same result as somebody else who's sincerely practicing a different path.
I heard another example. That's a beautiful one. Probably even better than this one. But someone's like a lot of the people in our congregation around April got letters from universities. Whether they are accepted. So if you say, well, UMD is a really good school, and Virginia Tech's a really good school, and University of Virginia, they're all really good schools, so I just don't think I'm going to go to any of them. Is that a very logical thing, right? So yes, commit to something. And we would say, and even Prabhupada would often say, whatever faith you're practicing, that's fine, but do it with this bhakti. Try to avoid karma and gyan, and do it with a heart and a half, as my wife would say. Other questions, comments, thoughts? Oh, yes.
Sorry. I think one of the mistakes we do is this one. In science, we have
a scientist here, that's right.
We expect something, and we know we are likely to get it. Like by checking a test tube, you don't expect atom bomb to be formed. But when it comes to religion, we say by saying 10 times, all my disease will be gone. The expectation in science is limited to what you can get. But whereas in religion, we say all the problems is solved by this. And that boundary is the problem. When it comes to religion, we are put a boundary to what we can really get based on others' experiences. In science, we put that boundary all the time. We do not expect something great by doing some simple things.
Thank you. I couldn't hear everything. I couldn't make it, but I understand you were juxtapositioning science, and you're a scientist, so very good. Thank you. Yes, Kim? You're mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, Kim Kurusva. What's that verse?
So I was curious, this is a question I have for both of you, and Ananda, if she wants to walk all the way over here again. But so for me, living in the temple so long, the past 3 years I've been living outside, and I personally have found it a struggle to work, sometimes even over full time a week, and maintaining my spiritual practices. Right. So I guess I was curious from your guys' perspective, what are ways, I guess how to balance that, how to deal with the guilt that's associated with that as well, and I guess just ways that could help to still keep that spiritual practice, that spiritual connection with Krishna alive while trying to survive.
Kim, that's a great question, and it's somebody asked a very similar question, so let's connect the two. How to develop aspiration that bhakti is the ultimate goal of life and not one of the goals of life.
There's the other one there too. That's what does he say?
But you find it.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, why does there seem to be a disconnect in myself between a very strong attraction to the Krishna consciousness process and the inability to follow through consistently?
Yeah.
That's connected with that.
So let me ask you a question, Kim, or anyone who's been through this. Do you understand the question, right? That, you know, we know what we should, how we should be practicing bhakti, and we have, you know, we have jobs, we have kids. You don't have kids yet, but we have jobs, we have kids, we have this, the bills to pay, flat tires to fix, and all the other things that happen in life, and you can't necessarily practice as diligently as you'd like to. So for anyone who's had that experience, how motivational, how helpful is it to feel really guilty? I see a lot of people. If you're Catholic, or Jewish, but anyway, or Hindu. No, anyway. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily help. But what does help is a question. Well, one thing is to try to find the, in Sanskrit it's called Krishna Sambandha, the connection with our daily duties in life and somehow connecting it with Krishna, right? So let's say you're a family person and you're working a job and you're maintaining your family, and your family comes to the temple, and so these are devotees of Krishna, so I'm helping them in their pursuit of bhakti. Or I give some proportion of my salary to the Krishna temple to help with their programming. And we make some connection with that. Or, for example, taking care of our health. Well, I can't really do my bhakti if I'm sick. Right? If anyone ever noticed, everyone who does chanting on a regular basis, when you're sick, is it easy to chant? It's like, oh God, you know, right? It's really a challenge. So somehow try to, you know, and there's different times in our life. Like you're young, and so you're doing that. I'm now at least semi-retired, so I can spend more time, theoretically, in my pursuit of bhakti. So there's, you know, different shlokas for different folks. There's different times in our life also. But I would also say, I was talking to a devotee who's been practicing bhakti for 50 years. And they've been, you know, really getting on their own case a lot and feeling, you know, that same sense that you expressed. And I said, how about giving yourself just a bit of a break? You do so much. This person has done so much service for ISKCON and for Srila Prabhupada, on a mountain of service. And so you're okay, this person's 75 years old now. You can't do what you could do when you were 25. But is it really helping to, you know, try to transform that guilt into Krishna, talk to Krishna, I'm doing the best I can. Please keep giving me strength and make it more of a positive thing. Do you want to add to that, Giri?
Yeah. I mean, I think that when we feel guilty and we feel shamed in those circumstances, in some ways we're presupposing a very judgmental God.
Yes.
And the one is condemning you and seeing that. But, you know, Krishna, his whole goal of his existence is to experience the highest level of love. And so the reason he's coming, like he doesn't need us. He's got a whole spiritual world full of people, but he's coming after us time and time again. Why? Because he has care and compassion for us. And he knows that in this realm, we're suffering. We've been cut off with our natural ability to love, and we've been cut off from Krishna's love of us. And we've been finding all kinds of ways to compensate for that. And so when he sees us with great compassion. That's why he comes. He comes to everybody who's, no matter what they're doing, he comes and offers himself. Because he has great compassion. And so we need to put that compassion on ourselves. And if you can say, look, Krishna, I wish I miss having my connection with you. Instead of saying, oh, Krishna, I feel so bad because I'm so bad and I'm not doing all the things. What if you just say, I miss it? Krishna, I miss that connection. I'm not sorry because I'm bad, because I'm sorry because I don't have that. That resonates with Krishna's heart.
Nice. Also, I would make a distinction between shame and guilt.
Yeah.
Right? Shame is I'm bad. Guilt is I did this one thing that wasn't the best thing in the world. Right? And guilt is actually a good motivator. Oh, I did that. Let me improve. But when it transforms into shame, that can transform into depression, and just nothing really good usually comes out of that. So making that distinction sometimes between shame and guilt is helpful.
It's disempowering.
It's empowering.
That I'm hopeless. I can never. That's what my condition is bad. I can't be changed.
Yeah. Unless you're a very, very exalted, these great souls who are actually with Krishna, they have this intense humility that we can't imitate.
Yeah, with them, my understanding of that is that they feel such an extreme indebtedness to Krishna. Because indebtedness is a huge dynamic of prema. Krishna feels indebted to his devotees. It feels like he needs to do something for them. And so they want to somehow reciprocate, but they can never begin to repay what Krishna has done for them just by his existence. And so they feel hopeless, they feel terrible, they feel like I've never done anything for Krishna, because the debt is only increasing. Whatever they do doesn't move the needle, it's just further and further in debt. So it's a whole different situation from us. That's why we can't go in that.
I'm really glad you brought that up. I was just listening to a talk yesterday. You can see sometimes my New York accent comes out. And this devotee, his name is Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj, and he was making the connection. He said that the psychological connection between not good consciousness and really spiritual consciousness is gratitude.
Yeah.
He said it's the key psychological effect to be a psychologically healthy human being and a devotee of Krishna. And there's people who say you wake up in the morning, think of 3 things that you're grateful for, but gratitude is such a powerful, if you're really bummed out about something, think of a person or 2 people that you're grateful for. It almost automatically raises our consciousness instantly. Just so I practiced it this morning. I woke up and thought of the 4 people that I was grateful for, and it just really uplifted me. I don't know if I jumped out of bed, like I said, person rag mark, but I was looking forward to the day, just trying to reciprocate with some of those people that I'm so grateful for. So gratitude is super powerful. So we can be grateful for the situation that we're in, even if it's a bit of a challenging one. Yeah, gratitude's. And one time someone asked Prabhupada, well, how can we develop a mood of gratitude that we can repay the debt that we owe you? And he said, well, a disciple doesn't think exactly of repaying the debt. They just remain ever grateful. Other questions? Comments?
I read something this morning. It's 2 paragraphs by Srila Prabhupada. If you might want to read it, it ties into this whole discussion.
You need a microphone. You want me to read it? Okay. All right. And this is from Srila Prabhupada. Life is short, but at the same time, so much disturbed by anxieties, by disease, by natural disturbances. Roga soka dibhi. Short life. That is also disturbed by disease and lamentation. Every moment there is something for which you have to lament. Oh, roga soka dibhi. And disease. This body is breeding ground for all kinds of disease. Life is short. Well, this is the positive part of the talk. No, I'm joking. The next paragraph. Life is short and it is so much disturbed. So how is it possible to practice? Therefore, this one practice, chanting Hare Krishna and hearing about Krishna, that is very nice. And this is Kim for your answer, and praying to Krishna, please give me strength. Hare, O energy of Krishna. Right? That's Srimati Radharani. O Krishna, I am fallen. I have no strength. Please accept me. That's all. I have no qualification. I'm frail, but I'm trying. And sometimes I'm failing. All these appeals should be made. And Krishna is all-powerful. He can do anything. even though we do not perform, trying our best, even if we fail, Krishna will help us. Just like a child tries his best, but he falls down, a child learning to walk. The mother takes up and says, all right, come on, walk, like that. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Right. I think we're out of time.
Oh, and that's probably a good,
That's a wrap, I think.
a good way to end.
That is a good way to end. Please, I give a warm thanks to our wonderful speakers.
Very good.
I want to give a recommendation, since we're talking about questions. There's a new book out by a wonderful devotee called Vaisheshika Prabhu, and the book is called The 4 Questions, A Pathway to Inner Peace. Fantastic book. You can get it on Amazon or Barnes & Nobles and a few other places, but really, really a good book. And if you have any other questions right now, you can, these 2 wonderful devotees will be around for a few more minutes. Please feel free to come see them. In the meantime, have a wonderful week. Stay connected to Krishna. Stay sweet and stay out of trouble. Oh, yeah, and it's going to be hot, so stay cool. Okay, and we'll see you next Sunday. We have a visiting speaker from Hungary here next week, from the beautiful farm in Hungary. So that's something to look forward to as well. Thank you. Hare Krishna.